Welcome, this is Bystander X79. Today's video is going to be a deck profile for the November 2017 format. As you can see, what we're going to be doing one of my favorite synchro decks that also uses hand traps, which is going to be PSY-Frames. Alright, a little backstory on PSY-Frames. PSY-Frames came out in the High Speed Rider special set. Since they are hand traps, they can respond to a lot of things your opponent does. So they don't mind going second. Another cool option is that they can also have the ability to synchro summon during your opponent's turn, which is something that I kind of like. Without further ado, we're going to go right into the deck profile. Alright. I run 2 copies of PSY-Frame Driver. Now, PSY-Frame Driver is a level 6 light attribute psychic type monster, 2500 attack, 0 defense. Basically, he's typically brought out with one of the PSY-Frame Gear tuner monsters. Now, he's not the only monster in here that can actually help synchro summon. Cool thing about it is that the PSY-Frame Gear monsters can actually turn on special summon him from the deck, grave, or your hand. So having 2 is not that bad. The other reason why I only run 2, and I'm going to put this guy over here like so, is because I run 3, count them, 3 copies of PSY-Frame Multi-Threader. Now, Multi-Threader is the other level 6 here that we actually got maybe about a year after the PSY-Frame's initial release. Cool thing about Multi-Threader is that it has 3 different effects. The first one is that it counts as a PSY-Frame driver while in the hand or the graveyard. So technically, you're actually running 5 copies of this guy in the deck. Alright. The second thing is that if any of your PSY-Frame cards are going to be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can discard this card from your hand instead and basically protect them. Yeah. So this card can actually protect all face-up PSY-Frame cards, whether it be monster spells or traps. Its third effect is that if a PSY-Frame Gear monster is ever special summoned to your side of the field and Multi-Threader's in the graveyard, you can special summon that card onto the field, and that can actually help open up some more synchro plays if you want to keep Driver on the field, if you want to put a little more attack pressure onto the field. Alright. Now, the reason why I have the ratio the way it is because I actually done a lot of testing with this deck. This is one of my favorite synchro decks. Like I said before, I've tried doing 3 copies of Driver and 3 copies of Multi-Threader. It turned out that 3 copies of Driver and Multi-Threader, Driver became a little bit cloggy when I wanted to draw into one of my effect monsters. I tried playing 3 copies of Driver and 2 copies of Multi-Threader. Turns out I never really saw Multi-Threader when it was less than 3. Leave me only one option, going 3 Multi-Threaders, 3 Drivers, and I think that's the actual optimal ratio that you want to run in this deck. Multi-Threader is an effect monster. It does have a lot more uses in this deck, and I feel it's just a better card to have. Alright. Alright, so now we're going to get into the PSY-Frame gear cards. All the PSY-Frame gears are tuner monsters. Alright. I run 3 copies of PSY-Frame Gear Alpha. Now, all the PSY-Frame Gear monsters respond to something your opponent does. PSY-Frame Gear Alpha responds to your opponent summoning monsters. On the other hand, compared to the other PSY-Frame Gear cards, Alpha does not negate anything. Instead, Alpha actually gets you a search from your deck. So this is actually a very good card to have if you want to search out maybe a Multi-Threader or the copy of your field spell PSY-Frame Circuit. Okay. And since it's level 1, you're going to be mostly bringing out your level 7 synchros. The other level 1 PSY-Frame Gear monster that I run, I currently run 3 copies of Beta. Now, Beta can be activated when your opponent declares a direct attack. The thing about all PSY-Frame Gear cards is that in order for you to special summon them to your field, you cannot have any monsters on your field. Which means you're going to be exposed to a lot of direct attacks. Beta actually turns around and helps you deal with that because it destroys an attacking monster and then it ends the battle phase. It's not a bad effect. I do happen to run a trap card that actually does it just a little bit better because, and I do happen to have plans on probably toggling with the ratios here. So out of all the actually of all 4 of the PSY-Frame Gear monsters that I do run in this deck, this is the one card that I would definitely turn around and suggest you might want to turn around and oh, excuse me, toggle the ratios on. Okay. Now, I run 3 copies of PSY-Frame Gear Delta. Now, PSY-Frame Gear Delta activates when your opponent activates a spell card. It'll negate that spell card and destroy it. Alright, as you can see, PSY-Frame Gear Delta is actually a level 2 tuner monster, which means combined with a level 6 multi-threader or driver, you're going to be bringing out your level 8 synchros. Okay. Last but not least, I have 3 copies of PSY-Frame Gear Gamma. Now, Gamma activates whenever your opponent activates a monster effect, which is actually very good considering that this game has become a lot more monster effect driven. Alright, it'll negate the monster effect, destroy the monster, and if you have the field spell out, get you a synchro. Alright, now there is one more PSY-Frame Gear card that I don't have in my main deck, but I am going to talk a little bit about, and that's this card right here. It's called PSY-Frame Gear Epsilon. Again, it's a level 2. This one activates when your opponent activates a trap card. The way I see it is that if you go to locals and you know that your local meta, there's a lot more rogue decks, you might want to be considering actually running at least maybe 1 or 2 copies of Epsilon in your deck, just to turn around and give yourself an extra out against those options. Alright, it's one thing that I think a lot of players don't like about the PSY-Frames is because since it responds to a lot of different things, it's kind of like they can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! In my opinion, I actually do like the way the deck works. It can be a bit maddening in the mirror match because you're basically daring your opponent to go a lot of the time. But enough said. If you don't turn around and run this in your main deck, this card should be in your side. Alright. Now, Epsilon is not in my main deck, but I do happen to have some more support cards. Alright, the support monsters would be Card D. Since this deck mostly special summons during your opponent's turn, you don't really use your normal summon that much. Card D is a perfect match for this deck because you can normal summon it, set what you need to set, tribute it, and draw 2 more cards. Hopefully you draw into more of the hand traps that you need, and you get yourself set up for your opponent's next turn. Alright. Something that I like having in this deck is the Ghost Girl, Ghost Reaper, and Winter Cherries. Now, the reason why I like this card is because it is extremely easy to activate in this deck. Like I said before, with the other PSY-Frame Gear monsters, you need, in order for them to activate, you can't have any other monsters on the field. With that being said, you're going to be running a lot of times empty monster field, which is perfect for Ghost Reaper here, because the second your opponent just has one monster, you can activate her, send her to the graveyard, flash a card from your extra deck, and basically start taking away their extra deck plays. I like running her at 2, basically because you can just hit a large majority of what is out there. If you want to run her at more, please knock Beta down to 2, run her at 3. If you don't like Ghost Reaper, you can run things like Ash Blossom, you can run things like Ghost Ogre, you can run things like Draw Unlock. If you want to see your field spell a little bit more, I would strongly suggest taking her out, putting into Terraforming. Okay. Last hand trap I have is, of course, Max C. You run Max C basically to slow your opponent's special summons down and to give you more draws. Okay, so that's it for the monsters in the main deck. There is one more support monster. If you feel that this deck is lacking some extra muscle, consider this. It's an old standby with when Sci-Frames first came out. It's called Wind Up Ram It. Once during either player's turn, you can bounce it off the field. So it actually does play well with the fact that you need a clear field to summon out your Psy-Frame gears. It can also come back during every standby phase, and you could use it to poke your opponent for just an extra 1400 attack. A lot of players feel that this deck kind of lacks the extra poke. If you want that extra poke, please play Wind Up Ram It. Alright, I am giving you a lot of ideas of how to turn around and modify this deck to your own likings based on my experience with it. So please, if you see something that you really don't feel comfortable with, please, by all means, change it and let me know how well you do with it. Alright, part of this community, and the reason why I'm doing this is to help pay things forward. And to basically bring up the skill level of every player that hopefully sees this video. Alright, next card is Pot of Duality. Alright, since you don't use your special summons on your turn that much, Duality is a must in this deck. Dig into your deck 3 cards, pick the card you need for the situation, move yourself on. It's actually a very good card for this deck. Alright, put that there. Mentioned this before. The field spell of the Psy-Frames. This is kind of the linchpin of the deck. You have Psy-Frame Circuit. It has 2 effects, actually. The first effect is that as soon as the first effect resolves, which is after, you summon Psy-Frame monsters to your field, you can synchro summon them almost immediately. This is what really makes the decks go, because you can synchro summon during your opponent's turn, and it just opens up a heck of a lot of plays. I mean, if you haven't played this deck before, just think about how you have all these loops out there, and when your opponent finally drops that last summon onto the field, you activate Alpha, bring out a driver, you have this card on the field, you synchro summon into a Black Rose Dragon, and you just blow their field. It's just insane. Okay. The next card I have here is Psychic Field Zone. Now, I run 3 copies of this card. It's kind of backing up Psy-Frame Circuit in a way. Basically, if I have a Psychic Tuner and a Psychic non-tuner monster banished, I can return those to the graveyard, and then special summon a Synchro monster of the same, what is it? Basically, of an equal level of the tuner and the non-tuner in defense mode. It's a great way to back up Psy-Frame Circuit if you don't open with it, or if you can't search into it. Okay, now a lot of people, they might like Psychic Path to return stuff into the graveyard, which is not that bad. Some people might run 2 of this and 1 Psychic Path. I can tell you right now, I've tested that out. I wasn't really comfortable with it because I wasn't seeing Psychic Field Zone or Psychic Path at all. If anything, if you want to knock down the monsters a little bit, up the spell counts, I would take out the 2. I would take out maybe a Beta and a Ghost Reaper and throw in maybe a Psychic Path or 2 into this deck. But if you don't, and you feel comfortable with the way the deck is, please run just the 3 Psychic Field Zones. Alright, I do have a little bit of a tech piece here. Tech spell here is Telekinetic Power Well. Now, this is actually something that's very good in this deck, because it allows you to special summon a Psychic type tuner monster from your graveyard that's level 3 or lower. Alright, all the Psychic type tuners are level 2 or level 1. Now, there is a cost to it. You have to lose 300 life points times that monster's level. So, you bring out level 2, it costs you 600, bring out a level 1, it costs you 300. But the cool thing about it is this actually allows you to access Multi-Threader's other effect. Its final effect. Basically, you bring out a Psy-Frame Gear Tuner Monster while this card's in the graveyard. This card comes out with it, and if you have this field spell, you can synchro summon right there. Since Telekinetic Power Well is a quick play spell, you could actually activate it during your opponent's turn, which is even better. Alright, so that's it for the spell cards. On to the back row traps I have. I only have 6 traps in this deck. I mentioned this card when I was talking about Beta. And this is going to be Drowning Mirror Force. Now, this is the card that actually does a little bit better than Beta. Beta only stops destroys one attacking monster and ends the battle phase. This card takes all of your opponent's attack position monsters and it sends them back to the deck. I can tell you right now, with the way the link loops are, this card is just insane. Sending every one of those links back to the extra deck after they build that board, it's just fun just to watch things happen like that. Alright, so I run 2 of them to help back up Beta. I have 2 copies of PSY-Frame Overload. Now, PSY-Frame Overload, continuous trap. While it's in the field, you banish a PSY-Frame PSY-Frame monster from your hand or your field. You target 1 card on your opponent's field, and then you banish that card face down. This is the card that actually gives this deck a lot more control options. It's a great card. Once this card goes up, you're pretty much going to be in control of the duel. Alright, so this is typically a mid to late game card. One other thing about this card before I move on, it also has another effect. While it's in the graveyard, except for the turn it's sent there, you can banish it from the graveyard and actually search your deck for another PSY-Frame card, which is great because it gives this deck an extra out to search things. If ever it's destroyed, by one of your opponent's effect or your own effects, while it's face down, you can just search it out on your turn to get what you need back. So this is a great way to get another way to get your field spell into your hand. Last but not least, I run 2 copies of Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike basically backs up both Alpha and Gamma, basically because sometimes you want to actually stop summons, and there's other times, you won't have Alpha in your hand, and there's sometimes you want to stop monster effects and you don't have Gamma in your hand. That's why this card's here. Alright. So that's the 40 card main deck. For the extra deck, I'm going to show you 6 synchro cards that you must run in your extra deck. The rest of my extra deck is actually geared more for using Ghost Reaper. Alright? Now, I mentioned this with, before. Let's talk about the field spell, Black Rose Dragon. Synchro this card out during your, like I said, synchro summon this card out during your opponent's turn, you blow their field. It's insane if you wait for your opponent to drop that last summon before you pop their field. I only run 2 because you don't really need more than 2 in this deck. Typically, you wipe the board once, it's going to be a problematic. You wipe the board twice, you're pretty much won. Alright. The next level 7 synchro here is going to be PSY-Frame Lord Zeta. Now, Zeta has 2 effects. Basically, what it does is that you can target 1 special summon monster, any special summon monster, banish it with this card, and then they both return during the standby phase of your next turn. I actually like this because it plays keep away with things like your opponent's link monsters, especially since the special summon monster has to be kept in attack position for this card's effect to work. There's also that other effect, basically, if this card's in your graveyard, you can target 1 PSY-Frame card in the graveyard, as well as this card, and you return Zeta to the extra deck, and you add the other card to your hand. So you can reload your hand if you need to. Okay. I only run 2 Zetas, basically because that's really all you need. Playing Keep Away with Link Monsters helps break up strategies. Alright. The last synchro monster you want to have in your deck is going to be this guy, PSY-Frame Lord Omega. Omega is actually very good. While it's on the field, you can actually just randomly select 1 card from your opponent's hand, banish it with this card, and you're playing Keep Away with your cards with your opponent's hand, which is actually pretty good. During your opponent's standby phase, you can actually target 1 of your banished cards and return it to the graveyard. If this card's in the graveyard, you target this card plus another card, and you return them both to the deck. It's great. So this card does give you access to a lot of recycling. This whole thing with the standby phase of your opponent's turn, I want to mention that this card does allow you to target cards that are face down. All right, just by the wording, this card actually is actually one of the few cards that actually allows you to recycle cards that are face down, banished face down. I'm pretty sure it wasn't meant to be used like that, but that's the way the wording is, and that's the way it was interpreted. Okay. Like I said, the rest of my deck is geared more to help with Ghost Reaper wreak havoc on my thing. So, of course, when we're talking about links, you have your I have 4 of the 5 that you might want to hit. Firewall Dragon, Tico Talker, Akash's Magician, Proxy Dragon. I didn't put Double Helix in there, but it should be in here as well. Basically, those are your big links there that you can turn around and hit with Ghost Reaper. For your Xyz monsters, I got some typical rank 4 stuff, but you know, stuff like Castell, Utopia to take away the lightning play, and the new number, which is number 411, Babushka, which can throw everything in defense mode and wreck stuff. Alright, if you're looking to turn around and punish your opponent's synchro plays, of course you want to do Crystal Wing, and PSY-Frame Loader Maker is also a very good target to actually have because it's a generic monster. It plays keep away with your opponent's cards in their hand, and it can recycle banished stuff that's face down. Alright. And lastly, not this, but ABC Dragon Buster should also be in here just to turn around and take that play out of ABC decks because it just makes them suffer. Alright. This is what I typically have in my thing. I probably will turn around and remove Castell for Double Helix because I do see a little bit of spirals. Now, typically, I don't have side decks. The primary reason why I don't do side decks in my deck profile videos is because it's a little bit more personal choice than anything else. You know your meta better than I know your meta. So basically, if you're taking side frames to locals, customize your deck and your side deck to what you're going to typically see. If there's a lot of meta players there, fine, and go full anti-meta against them. If there's a lot of more rogue players there, bring in Epsilons, bring in stuff that can help you combat that. Alright? As always, with any deck videos, profile videos, please test out my decks. If you find certain ratios not working for you, make the corrections to suit your playstyle. And if you do well with this deck, let me know. Let me know what you used. Alright? I'm making these videos to turn around and help other players get stronger. I hope that other players will reciprocate that and tell me what's going on with how they play the decks their way. Alright? If you love the video, thumbs up. If you really love the video, subscribe. And I will be seeing you in the next video. Until then, peace everybody.